Hello everyone, welcome to Bonsai Mates. Today, basically we're doing succulents. I'm Castian and I'll try not to bump the table too much while minding the noise. People are mowing their lawns. It's a great day to do it, so if you've got some good weather, mow your lawns. Anyways, today, first episode, we're basically working with succulents. Obviously not this sort of succulent, but your normal jade, whether it be the elephant jade or another standard jade. And I'm not sure what sort of succulent this one is at the back, so I'll do a little bit of homework for you on that one, but he might be in another episode later when he grows. For now, it's basically small, simple for beginners that don't really have the green thumb. We've got this one here. This is just a small version. Find your front. I like this as the front. They get bigger, so you can get them up to this thick, which is very good if you can achieve that. Even bigger is when you pretty much know you're doing well. It's a very easy plant to grow. I've put these everywhere in the yard, in direct sun, shadier spots. Some are just neglected to water, few are just thrown at the front, and they thrive almost wherever they are. You have to do some pretty nasty things to hurt them. So, basically we're going to start with this. Bear with me, this is the very first basic episode of Bonsai Mates with Castian. Other mates will also have their opportunity to show you what they care and love for. So for now, I'm going to try get one of these guys out. This might be a task, so bear with me. You might have to use a bit of strength. Shovel would be wise, but because I've used a milk crate, some of the roots might even be a bit embedded into the actual shape. So I just want to feel where they are with this, rather than a shovel that just might cut the roots directly off, and you still want your roots. So I'm just trying to get under it and give it a bit of a pry. Here we go, I've got a section now. Alright, oh, definitely feels healthy under there. I'm going to just, you don't exactly want to rip a plant out from like grabbing it and just ripping it out. That'll damage a lot of the root system. You do want to get under the plant. You can damage a lot of root system with these and it will not matter. You could break a branch off, let it dry, put it in the ground the next day or a week later and it'll still grow. They're very good for that. So I'm just going to try to separate roots. There we go. Wow, look at that. So there's definitely got to be a lot of getting rid of and sizing down this clump just to fit in a training pot like this. But I call these my training crates. They're crates. Foam boxes work just as good for all your small plants that you want to train up and keep them in healthier conditions. For some reason, I don't know what it is with this and foam crates, but they seem to do better than just a separate pot with a sproutling. I don't know if it's the grouping or they just, synergy. They help each other. or something like that anyways. So, I'm going to see what I've got to work with. This here is a pretty big system of root there. I don't want to completely... I could afford to with this. Just doing that. Get a bit of a brush off as well. Many tools you can use. You can buy an expensive bonsai kit or you can just make do with what you got. There's no judging with that. It's just about getting the job done really. And hopefully not stressing or killing your tree. Have a check as well. And that looks very healthy. There's no rotting smell, nothing. So you can tell you've got healthy roots when you don't smell rot. I could afford to probably lose a little of this section, but I don't want to lose a lot. I want to keep a fair bit of this here. It may or may not make a very good nimbari later. Alright, you're always going to have some bugs in your soil, so watch out for the odd bug that might bite. I don't want to take too much soil. As they say, different plants, different amount of soil you can or cannot take off. But that is pretty quick actually, that's done pretty quick. It's a succulent. Would probably be more patient with more delicate plants and ones that you like a bit more, but with this, that's pretty rough, pretty quick, done. It's bonsai, mate, so we're gonna pretty much show you what we've got. So I'm just gonna move this guy back out of the way. Sit there. There we go, just lean him up. For the starter of the mix, I'm basically using raw material that I gathered. Not everyone can afford akadama, pumice and a lot of the ingredients, but if you do get yourself your standard potting mix, make sure it has a nice amount of bark or grain in it. You can sift it out so you get a lot of the finer dirts out, but places are different. Here in Australia we need a bit of this to hold some moisture because the winds, the heat, all those things will affect the soil, so we can't just use straight lava rock or akadama and a whole bunch of pumice. We need an actual something to hold water or hold the water in. Sort of like how peat moss does it. A little bit of that never hurt. But basically, you find lava rock around, you crumble it up to a smaller, depending on the ideal bonsai size and all that stuff. Like if you're doing a really small one, you'll probably break it up a lot smaller than this, and can see the size difference. So that's the basic ingredients. You can also break up pot, your basic clay pot, big piece. You can get it and just get a little hammer obviously, but this one's brittle enough that I can just sort of break it with my finger. Just add it in. That'll also act as good drainage. A lot of this is for draining, or if not, getting rid of the molds. Like a lot of this clay will suck up the moisture so there's not too much as well, while keeping it yet preventing a bit of mold. This however can be good yet can be your enemy depending on the plant. Some plants do not like overly wet feet or roots, and this can possibly keep too much. So this is more of an optional with people. I'm not going to add this right now to a succulent. It doesn't need that much care. It could just do with just a little bit of care and it's fine. Alright, well, I've actually broken enough of this already in there today, but that was just an example. Use some raw materials like your lava rocks that are big that you find in gardens on the streets. Buy some, don't take it from people's yards, that's stealing. Same as broken pots. You find a broken pot or you have broken pots, the clay is usable if you break it down. To try not as many sharp bits, try keep the sharps as round, the pieces as round as you possibly can, so you don't actually damage anything too much. I'm just going to get rid of this little bit of boiling. I'll probably chuck a lot of this in the composting. Here's an example of that. It already had some in there, a bit bigger than I would usually do, so I must have missed this one, but that bit made it in, and why not? And go back in. It's just clay, it's not like it's soil, but no, that's good. Alright, this is more than enough for just this job, especially considering the size of the training pot is a small. But we're just going to try to get this guy here somewhat in here and find a front. I reckon like that would be good. This side is a good front. Secondary option. I've technically got two right here. Like, if I really wanted to, I could cut down. But I'm probably... we can risk it. Go for a cut. No. Alright. I'll save that for another time. When this gets a bit bigger, I reckon I'll separate this and we'll see what happens. But for now, I reckon like this angle sideways would look good with this one little branch as a back. Pruning is due as well because there are shoots, if you can ever see, there are shoots all around the base. Sacrificial, which means I'll keep them there and let them go thick. I probably will do a small pluck and prune, but not much. Now with this I usually give it a bit of a mix up, because they were just piled in their separate pile for showing, but give it a bit of a mix up, small amount, just in the bottom. Some bark chips are a little bit too big, you can break them up later, chop them up. Make sure your roots as well aren't spiraling or going around or facing up. You do want them pushed down, and this is where small tools can help so many levels. I'm just gonna brush a little bit of this dirt off into the pot. Now, this may be one of those cases where it could be, or should be, most of them should be, by the way, wired down. It's very rare really that you wouldn't wire it down, because they can fall out real easy. I myself will probably just go the weighted rock option, which is simply finding a big enough pebble and weighting it on top. And I was watching an episode the other day where they did say everyone has their own soil level preference. Some people prefer under the pot rim, others do prefer it with a nice heel showing it. But essentially, if I wanted to, just after this as well, is I could put a bit of wire around this, feed it through, or just wrap around the pot temporarily, just until the roots finally take an actual hold. But I will recommend most people, with your more pride trees, wire them down. But as I've said many a times, this is just a succulent. Alright. There's a little bit of shell as well in this, like from the beaches. I find these work well for just a little bit of medium to gap everything so the soil drains. It's not necessary. This is more of a preference I like, because it's just an easier one to gather. Especially since I live closer to the beach, close to this area where there's a lot of clay, sand and lava rock basically around, that all I gotta do is put the work in and collect it without being a nuisance, I guess, because you can't just go collecting bulk mass of anything from a beach. You can't take a lot of things from a lot of places of reserves, so I don't recommend doing any of that. But if you have a place where there is a little bit of free reserve, or you bring some sand home with you from the beach in your car, there's nothing wrong with grabbing the actual shells out and using them as a little bit after washing them off. But that actually looks quite nice. I am happy with that. I will pretty much give it a dust off there, bring it forward so everyone can see. And that's just using lava rock with a bit of your clay pots, some beach shell sand, and just putting it in your normal soil like this. Instead of using my hands, use one of these next time. But I just thought I'd be quick to show you how simple succulents are. They're very hardy, so you're not going to kill them. Not in a hurry anyways. And I'd say that could just use with a bit of watering later on in life, a bit of cutting down below, create a canopy. But it's on its way. It's just started. Now bear with me, my watering can lost the nozzle. So I got to be very delicate. You don't want to just have a watering can with a hole in it or a hose and just dump the water in. You'll create a hole or a big ditch. So take your time with everything. There is no rush, especially with bonsai. It is a very time orientated. It needs time. Everything needs time. Alright, the water's finally coming out the bottom now, and it's coming out quite fast, so that's a good flush of water pretty much. Good flow. Yep, go straight in. Well, that's Bonsai, mates, and I hope everyone enjoyed and cast in, and please join me on the next episode.